The other half of our great 4 o'clock hour, Mike Crispino from Destinations Unknown was doing the UConn men's basketball exhibition game versus URI last night with Hall of Famer Wayne Norman. And Mike Crispino joins us now on the Bobby V's hotline. And Crispy, how you doing, buddy?
Great. Rob, how are you?
Good. Where are you?
Parts unknown.
Yeah. Hey, so Ben was right. I was listening to you on the radio. You're totally different when you get in basketball mode than football mode. You're like two different play-by-play guys. So what's it like to jump back football, back into some basketball, the two-time defending national champions in action last night?
Well, surprisingly, it went smoothly. You never know. You haven't done a game in 4, 5, 6 months. You don't know, what your mode, what your groove's going to be. But it was very simple. This team plays with such fluidity, and we have some familiarity with some of the players, so we know that. And it came a lot easier than I thought. It was a very natural thing. So it wasn't a bad transition. I thought it went well. And, the game, we had people there. It was 8,500 people, maybe more, at Mohegan Sun, the capacity 9,500. So it was a great turnout for Coaches versus Cancer, benefited from it for the enshrinement weekend at the Hall of Fame in Springfield, puts it together. And now I think they're going to probably try to do this kind of a game on the Monday when they have these enshrinement weekend, whenever it may be in the coming years. I think that's a good idea. But boy, the UConn fans showed up. We got there a couple hours early as usual, and there were lines of people waiting to get in for a 6 o'clock game at 4 o'clock. So that's just an indication of how popular the men's team has become after these last 2 years, which have been unprecedented in terms of success and in the way they won the NCAA tournament back-to-back years, never winning by less than double digits. I mean, that's unheard of, and it just gets people excited. It's a fun game to watch the way this team plays under Dan Hurley. They score, they defend, they run. They do a lot of beautiful things in terms of the game of basketball.
I just think you're so excited yourself, and like everyone was so excited for the team. But I thought you just sounded really excited to get back into it, basketball mode, which is early. Like even Coach Hurley made mention, this is the first time we go public so early, and I thought that was a great comment as well. But a lot of people, Mike, today and last night were texting me about Solo Ball as if he is some comment that came out of nowhere. Like you're not surprised from what you saw from Solo last night. I don't think you were, but he looked like he's been a veteran on this team.
Well, he's grown up a little bit. Last year, he had to step in for Steph Castle when he was hurt. He started, I think, 10 games, and he had some good moments. But now it's serious. Now he's got to be an important part of this team, and I think he understands it. He's picking up his game on a lot of levels. He understands that he has to impact the game, not only with shooting the ball and scoring, but defending and running and helping out rebounding and just being a complete player. You can see it in him. And guys like Jalen Stewart, who looks way different physically. He looks buff now. Last year he was kind of had baby fat on him as a freshman. So he is in a lot better condition, it looks to me. And Jaden Ross, the other sophomore, who's got he's got uber talent. He really is a great athlete. And if he can play the game in the kind of fluid, rhythmic way that he played it last night as the season unfolds, so those three guys are going to be pretty important to this team, aside from Caravan, of course, and Hassan Diarra and Samson Johnson. The new guys, Terrace Reed and Aiden Mahaney, are going to be huge for them. And I'm not even getting to the freshmen yet. So, I mean, they've got depth and they've got talent and they've got quality coaching and they've got that history of winning back-to-back. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff going for them.
Talking to Mike Crispino, play-by-play voice of UConn men's basketball, football, baseball. Crispy, let's talk about, you got 3 6'10" guys, but no 7-footers, no 7'2" guys on the bench. Any thoughts about what you saw last night? I thought Terrace Reed, that's a big body guy that if he could stay out of foul trouble is going to help him a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's 6'10". He's kind of the muscle of the two between him and Samson Johnson. I see them being a two-headed monster again at center. I mean, UConn has used that formula 2 years in a row to win national championships, right, with Adamo Sanogo and Klingon, then Klingon and Samson Johnson. Now this year, Terrace Reed and Samson Johnson. I mean, if they could somehow replicate what Klingon and Samson Johnson were able to accomplish last year, they're going to go places. But there's a lot of work to do. I mean, their rebounding was kind of below average, I thought. They were getting beat off the boards badly by Javonte Brown, the former Husky who left and went to Western Michigan and eventually ends up at Rhode Island. He's a big dude. He's a 7-footer. And he was crashing the boards. He got fouled. He got to the line. He scored points. He made the Huskies look bad. So second half, they fixed that a little bit. But I see that as one of the issues. And Dan, I think, would agree with it. Got to rebound the ball better. You can't be even on the boards with Rhode Island. Obviously, it's a preseason game. It's not going to matter now. But it's going to matter when you play Gonzaga, when you play Baylor, when you play St. John's, when you play these teams, Creighton, that can certainly, beat you. So those are the things I think they'll be working on in the next few weeks. Terrace Reed, I think, could be a big part of that because he is a muscular guy, and he's got talent, and he knows how to play basketball, and he's got experience. So all he's got to do is just fit into the system a little bit more and be aggressive. I think he looked to me in the first half like Terrace Reed just didn't want to make too many mistakes, didn't want to step on any toes,
right.
And then he felt his oats a little bit in the second half, and I thought that's more of the version of him that UConn's going to want to see.
Mike Crispino, UConn Sports Network, a busy beaver this week. Crispy was on the call last night with Wayne at Mohegan Sun. Tonight, we've got more alive. Coach Jim Mora Jr. talking about Wake Forest coming up, which is Saturday, noon kickoff. ACC team back in the house, back in rent. Wake taking on a 4-2 UConn football team. Rarely get to say that. And we are rolling right now, coming off a bye week, Mike. I just think this is really set up for UConn for another win. UConn with the bye week, Wake Forest having to go on the road after getting beat up by a really good Clemson team last week.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they're going to come in here hurting a little bit, Wake. I mean, I'm sure they're going to come in thinking we got to win this game. We got to get our season back on track. They're 2-4 coming in. UConn, I think the bye came at the right time for them. It's right in the middle of the season. This first one, they got 2 byes,
right.
But this one helped. I think they got some guys bumped up and bruised, and they need them back. Skylar Bell, the wide receiver, got an ankle injury in that Temple game. I think he's going to be okay. Nick Evers, the quarterback, I think is recovering well. Price Yates hasn't played yet. He's a defensive lineman who's got great pass rushing ability. He might be ready to come back. So if they could get all 3 of those guys back because of the week off and the extra time to heal, that could be huge for them. It sets up for them, but, Temple, I think, put a real scare into UConn. Temple came in there, 1 win, pushed them right to the limit. Huskies got a nice bounce, and they ran a touchdown back on a fumble to end the game in the final seconds. I think that was a good wake-up call for them. That was a big red flag. I'm sure they all sat there in the locker room and said, well, we're lucky to get out of here with a win. Let's not let this happen again. So I'm looking forward to see how they bounce back against Wake Forest after this bye week.
Coach Jim Mora live coming up after our show. But that last moment, 4th and 1 second left, guy picks up the fumble. Just your thoughts. Your call is amazing, by the way, of what you're watching. But is that one of the coolest things you've seen in a long time? That 96 yards is really 99 yards to me, 99-yard fumble return for a touchdown to seal the deal.
Oh, man, it was a miracle. That's what that was. I've been doing this a long time. I've never seen that, and that's a first for me. I talked to Jim Mora about it tonight for the show, and you'll hear from him. He'll say it's happened to him a couple of times in NFL games that he's coached where the game turned on the final play, but this one, you just didn't see it coming. I mean, come on, 3rd and a half a yard, they don't get it, number one. They try to sneak it again, 4th and half a yard. It comes loose and turns into 6 points the other way. So, they got the bounce. They made the play. I think they needed a close game. They had been bouncing. They had been beating people up at home here in the first few games of the season. I think they needed to be pushed to the limit, and they were. And they got a little lucky. The ball came out. Someone picked it up for them and took it back to the house. So I think it's all good. I mean, they're having a real good first half. Now they got to kind of repeat rinse and repeat it again in the second half. And it starts with Wake because this is an ACC team now. You're stepping up in class, right? They're one of the Power Four conferences. Yep. UConn's played ACC teams, I think, 30 times in their history. They won 7 of those. So, yeah, this would be a nice proving ground for them if they could take care of an ACC opponent at home Saturday.
I know where your head's at, and I love it. I'm on the same wavelength. We've got to get an ACC win. Also in that Temple game, Mike, first time ever, I think that instead of the students bum rushing the field on a win like that, the team had to jump in the stands to get into the students' face. Where it at? Students, it is time. I am sick of this. We have got to get your butts in the student section, so much so that Coach Moore even put out a letter asking the students to get in there and support this team. I am sure that Coach Moore, he wasn't asking for it when he got here. He wasn't asking for it when they were a bowl team. He definitely didn't expect it last year at 3-9, but at 4-2, year number 3, I feel like Coach should be getting a little upset about this situation. Do you get that vibe from Coach just yet of these students, not necessarily all the fans, but really the students not being there on Saturdays?
I think it's both. I think you want your fans, your football fans. I don't care what age or where they're coming from. You want them in the stands if you're doing good things. And the football team is doing good things. They won 4 out of 6. They're in a position to have a nice run here in the second half. I think you're giving them something to be proud of, right? When you start that, I think of Dan Hurley's maybe first 3 years, Huskies were floundering around 500, trying to figure it out. They started to get over 500. You could see the crowd getting back into it. I think when you start proving on the field or on the court or wherever you may be that you're worthy of your fan base attention again, they need to come out. They got to prove that they are loyal to what you're trying to do. And I think that's what would happen if you put about 30,000 into that stadium this weekend. Right. That would show you, as a fan, that would show the fan base, would show their team that we're proud of what you're doing, we respect what you're doing, and we're going to support it. So I think the guys on the team, though, they keep saying, got to keep proving ourselves, got to keep winning, we got to keep showing people we're worthy of the respect and the admiration of our fan base. So I don't think it affects the players that much, but I do think they'd love it if there was 30 to 40,000 in those seats this Saturday.
Absolutely. Well, we'll be there. We'll all be there supporting the troops in UConn Huskyville. Mike Crispino, you're the best. Appreciate it, Crispy. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, guys. Thanks.
All right. You'll hear more Mike Crispino with Coach Jim Moore Jr. live at 6 o'clock as they kick us off the air. And then you'll hear some ALCS tonight as the Yankees continue their onslaught of the Cleveland Guardians. Dibbles and Bits is next. Kirk Kaplan on the 1s and 2s. Nick Federico is on our YouTube video. We'll be right back on your afternoon drive.